Today's guest is a longtime family friend, local Hickory Hills legend, college basketball great, and current member of the Chicago Bulls. Welcome, Mr. Max Strus. Thanks for coming on our show.
No problem. Good to see you, Xavier. Thanks for having me on.
Of course, we've both been wanting you on for a while. Both Tom and I, we probably tuned into a handful of DePaul games, even when we were up in Iowa.
Appreciate that.
To start off, I just want to ask, how's your recovery going? Are you able to shoot or run yet?
Yeah, recovery is going really well. With everything that's going on right now, I'm not able to shoot anywhere because there's no gyms open. But I've been able to keep going to rehab and keep going to physical therapy 3 times a week. So, everything's coming along just well. I'm running and jumping there. But as far as basketball-related activities, just ball handling stuff I can do at home and stuff like that. But I'm way ahead of schedule in my recovery, so I'm looking forward to that and keeping that on schedule.
That's good to hear. Because you haven't really had any major incident until this part of your career.
I've never really been hurt before, so. It happens to everybody, but I'll get through it and move on from it and hopefully be stronger and better than ever.
That's what we hope. Other than that, how's it been? How do you go through the quarantine that we're all dealing with? We all have different ways to go through it. Has it been difficult? Have you been bored yet?
You know what? It actually hasn't been too bad. I'm living in the city here with a couple friends. 3 of my best friends. I'm living here in an apartment downtown, so having them has been good, and there's really no dull moments here. I'm able to leave the house and go to PT, like I said, 3 times a week, and other than that, just spending time at home, watching Netflix, playing Xbox, and then I got some dumbbells and bands and stuff to do some home workouts. So just trying to stay active and things like that. But selfishly, this whole outbreak of this thing has been somewhat good for me because basketball hasn't been able to go on, so it's not like I'm missing much while I'm out. So as far as that goes, it's been pretty good.
Good. I want to rewind to start off a little bit to your high school years and growing up. You pretty much been playing a range of sports your whole life. How soon did you realize that basketball was the one you liked the most, or that you wanted to see how far it would take you?
I'd probably say my sophomore to junior year in high school. Freshman year I played all 3, played football, basketball, and baseball. And then after that, I broke my collarbone my freshman year, so after that I was no more football. And then I did baseball and basketball the next year, and after that, I kind of, I wanted to do the AAU thing and, play basketball year round. So I'd say probably my sophomore going into my junior year of high school is when I started taking it more serious and realized that this is the sport I wanted to pursue.
We actually had on last year one of your former AAU teammates, Nick Wisher, came on.
Really?
Yeah, he gave us a show last year around similar time, I think, and he was a great guest.
Nick's awesome. Yeah, I'm working with Nick, and he's developed his app on Yoke. I don't know if you've noticed that. He's got that going, and then I help him out and do stuff with the Wish Fest and with their foundation. So I talk to Nick all the time. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that the whole thing that those guys are doing, it's really been special to watch.
Yeah, they're great people.
So going into kind of the later years of high school, what was it like starting to get recruited and looked at by schools? And how did that process kind of go for you?
Yeah, well, there wasn't much of it. It kind of took a while for schools to recognize me because I didn't really play AAU. I didn't do all that. So I played on like a local smaller team in the summer, so it really wasn't like I was going to those national AAU tournaments and doing all that stuff and things like that. But my junior going into my senior year was, we were on the summer circuit playing AAU, and we went to like a couple bigger ones, and that's when like the Division II schools started calling and things like that, and started coming to my high school games, and during the high school year, some D1s were flirting around with talking to me, and but a lot of them were just, preferred walk-on spots, or, we don't think you're good enough to play at this level yet. So it was just a lot of Division II schools, a lot of offers from those people. And once the season was over, I kind of narrowed those schools down, and always wanted to stay close to home. So it came down to Lewis, where my brother played, and I knew what the program was about, and I knew Coach Strus pretty well. So it ended up all working out anyway.
Yeah. So then after playing, you were at Lewis, and you decided to transfer to DePaul. What was the process there, and were there any other schools that you were really considering at the D1 level that when you chose DePaul over those?
Yeah, that process was crazy. I mean, that was the minute I put in that I was transferring in the transfer portal, the minute I got phone calls that, like, within the hour. Like, it was nuts. There were a lot of schools calling, and I wasn't going to go anywhere to like a low to mid major that I thought Lewis could compete with, because Lewis is a high end Division II school that can play with a lot of mid major D1 schools. So I really wanted to set on like the Big Five power conferences, SEC, ACC, Big East, Big Ten. I wanted to play in one of those. So DePaul was one of the first ones to reach out. Butler, Xavier from the Big East. I visited all three of those schools. And then towards the end of my recruitment, it was, Louisville came on to talk, and Oregon was talking to me at the end there too. And, I turned down some schools that were, a bit farther away from home, because I'm a homebody and didn't really want to go that far. So, there was a lot of schools reaching out, but at the end of the day, I kind of narrowed it down to those three, with Butler, Xavier, and DePaul, and, visited those, and I thought DePaul was the best opportunity for me.
What was it? How much did you like being in Chicago? And your family's here. That's where your mom went, and just being able to have a lot more fans that knew who you were, knew your story, and were able to root you on.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it's ironically worked out that I'm here still with the Bulls, so that's been great. But being close to home is everything for me. I love my family and love being around them. So it's great to have that support at every game. I probably had at least 20 people at every game that were either family members or very close friends supporting me. So that was always nice to have. And, it just helps you want to do better, and you want them to see you do great. So, I love being close to home, and I'm glad DePaul gave me that opportunity.
Yeah, I remember you went there, and then I think it was my freshman year of college. I showed up to a game, and that I didn't. You had no idea I was going to come, and then I just crossed paths, and I was like, "Oh, hey," and I was like, "I wonder what he thinks right now. He's probably thought I was following you or something."
See Xavier sitting courtside. That was crazy, man. I
went
you were
to
big time like that.
Yeah, I probably went to another 8 more after that. I went to even some this year.
Yeah.
Now, whenever I want to go, I just kind of talk to the guys, and all good.
They're good people over there.
One of the questions me and our other co-hosts wanted to ask is what Xavier was like in high school. He worked with the basketball team, I'm pretty sure. You got any funny story about Xavier? Because we got plenty of funny stories.
Xavier was a good guy, man. He was always there to help. He just wanted to be around basketball. So, he was one of the managers, and we all kind of took him under our wing, and just loved having him around practice. And he kind of just did whatever, our coach wanted him to do. And he was there early and setting up the court, and he was always there to help out. So Xavier was good in that range.
Thank you. Back to your college stuff a little bit. Being able to play in the Big East, you got so many good schools, and Villanova winning during both your during your college years. How fun is it to play in that Big East? Because I think top to bottom, it's competitive, whether you're the best team or towards the bottom. It never felt like a team just was fully dominant in all the games.
Yeah, I think the Big East is the best conference in basketball. And obviously I'm biased, but if you look at my senior year, I mean, the bottom 4 teams were all 8-8. It's always like that. DePaul struggled recently, but my last year, we were right there with everybody, and I think that just goes for the Big East. Anybody can beat anybody on any given night, and every gym is always pretty close to sold out, and the atmosphere is great at every other arena. So it's always a challenge to play in the Big East, and it's great basketball, and there's a lot of history behind it too.
Yeah, my mom was talking about. She always talks about how she went to all those Ray Meyer years, always nonstop about those years, and hope they one day get back. And it'd be nice to see when that happens.
Yeah, that was having my mom play there. That was part of the history that I knew and grew up around. So I always wanted to get back to that level, and I came up short in my time there. But I thought that after I left the good legacy of people to follow up and keep bringing us new higher standards. And I think Coach Lato's doing a great job of bringing in good guys. They had a good start to last year, and kind of fell off, but it's all part of the learning process, and I think they'll figure it out soon enough.
Yeah. So with your time at DePaul, is there one memory that sticks out above the rest as like just something something you enjoyed immensely about your time there?
Yeah. I'd probably say my last year when we beat Penn State at home in overtime. That was to go. I think it was the start of the year. I think it was 4-0 or 5-0. And it was like a start of this. We finally won one of those overtime games. The year before, it was, if you looked, I think it was like, I don't even know how many losses we had, but almost over half of them were 1 to 4 point losses, and every game was close. And we went to overtime a lot. And starting that next year, we won that first overtime game that we had, and it was just, as it started to click and things started to change, and you kind of felt like the program was starting to turn around, and things were heading in a new direction.
That senior year, that March that you had, you really made a big case for yourself throughout the whole year, and everyone was talking about you getting drafted, and it didn't end up happening. And how soon was it that you knew you were going to sign on with a team? Did you know that week or as late as that day?
You're talking about when I signed with Boston?
Yeah.
I knew the night of the draft. I knew I was going somewhere that night. I thought I was going to get drafted in the second round or later second round. And it was close. I got calls, but they ended up going different directions. But I knew before the draft was over that the Celtics wanted me, and that I was going to sign a two-way with them that night. So, I was watching with my family, and it was a long, long night watching that. But it made it well worth it to get that phone call from Danny Ainge, and to hear that you're going to sign with the historic Boston Celtics, and that was great.
Yeah,
to give my family that news was awesome too.
It was a bit shocking too, because the two-way deals aren't just in a way handed out right away. Usually they like to put them through camps, summer league at least, and even some of the players don't get it till after they play some G League. And I just remember seeing the contract happening, and I was a bit not shocked, but a little bit at the same time.
Yeah, it's actually it's not that common, but like in the later rounds, in the second round, like probably the picks like 50 to 60, most of those guys get a two-way contract, because they can the teams can negotiate those. There's nothing set in stone there, so a lot of those guys end up getting two-ways. So it's basically just like I got drafted, but you just didn't get to hear your name called, which is what it is.
That's a draft and stuff. It was cool to watch throughout the game. You're the first one out of our high school to play in the NBA and things like that. And watching the games last summer and seeing you connect with the team was a lot of fun. How close did you seem to get? Pretty close to some of those guys. I remember seeing you and Taco Fall playing video games together nonstop.
Yeah. Taco is my guy. He's hilarious. He's a great dude. But it wasn't like I was home, so I didn't have anybody else out there. We were all in Boston, and we were all moving to a new place that we'd never been before, so we didn't know anybody else. So, you were all in a hotel room together, so we were all together. So, and we were always hanging out, and we didn't know anybody else in that city, so it was great to have each other. guys like Carson Edwards and Grant Williams and Tremont Waters and Taco. They were great rookies to, kind of start your way into the league with.
Do you still talk to any of those guys?
Yeah. I talk to Carson all the time and Taco, and they're great dudes. I played them. Well, I didn't get to play them, but our team played against them in the G League, and it was good to reconnect with those guys and see them for the first time in a while since the summer.
And Carson's another priority guy as well, right?
Yeah. That's why I spent all summer with Carson from May to August. So me and him bonded pretty well.
I remember I was flipping through like Snapchat one day or Instagram and seeing you guys at a Cubs game together. They put on their socials. Like, that's insane to think about.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned a couple of times how you like staying close to home. So what was it like finding out that you're going to be coming to the Bulls organization and getting to come back to Chicago? That had to be pretty exciting. Yeah.
So when I was in Boston, my agent called me and said, you might get waived here, and somebody's going to pick you up. We're not worried about that, but he had heard from Chicago, like if Boston lets him go, like let us know, and we're going to jump on that right away. So I wanted to be in Boston. I loved it there. It's really like a smaller Chicago. The city's great, and the people were awesome. Loved it. Great team, great organization. But if I were to go anywhere, I mean, what better than to come back home? And I was ecstatic. And, when I called my parents, they started crying, and they were just so excited for me to be back home. And, I couldn't have asked for a better situation.
When you were playing for the Windy City Bulls, did it ever feel like you were, in a way, in high school or college again, playing some of those 11 o'clock games? I remember I'd be in class and see like a G League alert saying, "Oh, tune in and watch the Chicago Windy City Bulls play." I'm like, okay, I'll watch it before my class starts. Like,
yeah, those games are funny. It's like a school day game, so it's the loudest game ever. I mean, I don't recommend any fan going to watch that unless you're bringing kids. I mean, they're not even paying attention to the game. It's just kids everywhere running around screaming. I mean, nobody's paying attention to the game. It's hilarious, but it's fun for them and a good way to get get them involved and get them out of school, I guess. So it was fun, but they're loud games for sure.
How do you deal with travel? Does it ever mess with like your sleeping schedule, eating habits? When we had another G League guy, Ben Moore, on, and when we spoke to him, he was on a bus in the middle of practically nowhere at like 10:30 chatting with us.
Yeah, the G League is rough. The travel in the G League is rough for sure. You fly. Whenever you fly like United or Southwest, and you're getting on those planes, and you got to get there early to get your seat. It's funny how that works. How you go from DePaul College, where you're taking charter flights everywhere, and you drive your bus right up to the plane and get on to the G League, where it's maybe like a 4-hour bus ride back to my Division II days, stuff like that. And then the NBA travel is just insane. I mean, their planes are craziness, and you could sleep on those and not be worried about a thing. So that's good. But the sleep schedule is definitely rough, and it takes a while to get used to. And, being a two-way is very much so a challenge, because you never really know where you're going to be the next day. I came home for Thanksgiving. Like, for example, I came home on Thanksgiving. The night before Thanksgiving, I thought I was going to spend that day with my family. I woke up at 10 a.m. To a text from the Bulls that said, "You have a flight at 1:30. You have to fly to Portland." So I literally, Thanksgiving morning, I woke up and I was like, "All right, guys, I got to go. Sorry." So I had to drive to the airport and head to Portland. Being on a two-way, you just never know what's going to happen. And it's craziness, but it's all worth it. I mean, to play in the NBA is a dream come true. So you just got to deal with the travel issues.
Yeah. So he mentioned food too. I wanted to know, obviously you can find a Chipotle in any city,
Yeah.
but have you gotten that, like the celebrity card that Chipotle has where you get like
Man.
you're free? You still waiting on that?
No, I wish. I'm working so hard for it. I feel like everybody wants it in America, but I haven't seen anybody work harder than me. It's funny though, because everybody I see is like, "Have you gotten that Chipotle card yet? Have you gotten it?" Everybody knows that I want it so bad.
I mean, every day
No,
I
nothing. I haven't gotten it.
see your Instagram stories. You got, I think it was just yesterday. You had
Yeah.
Chipotle on there yesterday.
I'm trying, man. It's gonna happen one day. I know it.
Yeah, I think you're next up on the list.
Yeah, this show will give you that little boost you need.
I hope so. I hope so. You guys need to put it out there for me.
For sure. With playing in the NBA, you've obviously you went from college to D2 to that D1 jump, and then D1 to the pros. Have those jumps been challenging, or did you feel like you trust in your game and you knew that you're very capable of all of that?
No, I've always felt like I was capable of getting to the next level. You're obviously, when I was leaving the Lewis to go to DePaul, I thought it was going to be a little different. But once I got in the gym with the guys and started playing, I realized that I'm good and I can handle this level. And it's I'd say that the physicality of the game was a little different because they have strength coaches and all that. Lewis, we were all on our own pretty much, and you got to do everything by yourself. So I'd say physically that was a little bit of a challenge, but skill wise and basketball wise, I haven't had much of a struggle. And going into the G League was not too much of a difference. The game evolves a little bit, and the NBA pace is a little faster, and it takes some time to get used to. But with summer camp and preseason, you get well accustomed to it, and I thought I adjusted pretty well and didn't have too much trouble with it.
This year, you got to make your debut in front of a home crowd. I'm assuming you had tons of family. How did you know that night you were going to make it in, or was it by chance?
No. You never know when you're going to go in when you're on a two-way contract. I mean, if you're not in the rotation, I mean, you might get thrown in the game, and you never know what's going to happen. Like when I flew to Portland for Thanksgiving, we played the next day, and I got put in the second quarter for like 10 seconds. It was nuts. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like he called my name, and I looked at him, and I was like, and then he called my name again. He's like, let's go. Like, you're in. And I was like, okay, like, here we go. And I'm in the game, and I'm guarding Carmelo Anthony, and I'm like, geez, what the hell's going on, And then I get taken out 10 seconds later, and I don't play the rest of the game. It's funny, but that's just the way it works. And that night was, my parents were there, and that was good. But, the game was getting out of hand, and we were down by 20, and you kind of think you're going to go in, but you never really know. And then once they put you in, your heart starts racing, and you live for those moments. So, and we almost came back and won that game.
One thing I bet you didn't know, maybe you did, but of anyone this season in NBA, out of the whole league, no matter how many minutes they played, you have the highest offensive rating.
That's not very fair. I mean, that doesn't. I do have it. I know that somebody's told me that before, but. What have I played, like 5 minutes total?
5 minutes.
On.
5 minutes. But those are hard 5 minutes.
5 minutes and 5 points. I'll take it.
Just a couple more things before we wrap up. You spoke recently with, I think probably just a G League. You put out that little video. How important was it to make others known, to make sure they go after and like believe in something that they feel they can accomplish?
Yeah, that's been big for me, just not getting what I wanted out of high school, and never really stopping to get to where I wanted to go. I want to make sure people know that they can push themselves to get anywhere they want in life, and the only person that could stop them is yourself. So that's just a thing that I've always engraved in my head ever since I've lived out my dream and playing the NBA, and want other people to know that they can push themselves and get to where they want if they really want to do it.
All right. I think last question here. What's it like now seeing so many fans anywhere you go call your name? You've probably experienced it here and there throughout college, but now you're in the pros. Uh, People with your jerseys. I'm gonna pull up something right here. People now even have you're on a sports card. You got this one. I think there's a Celtics one out there. Now that next year, hopefully they make a Bulls one.
Xavier,
How
you might
wild
be
is
the
that?
only person. You might be the only person in the country with that card.
Actually, I might be the only one with multiple of that card.
No, yeah, I mean, you would think it's like that, but I mean, I don't get noticed at all. I mean, people call me Ryan Archidiacono in the city. I've gotten that. I've gotten, a bunch of people when I was in Boston. I was walking around the city with Taco. People were asking me to take his picture. I mean, people like, yeah, nobody knows who I am, and I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. So it hasn't gotten too bad yet, but I'd say the only people that know me are the people in Hickory Hills. So that's about it.
We're ready for your success.
Yep.
I think that just about wraps everything up. I want to say thanks from Tom.
Yeah, we appreciate this.
Our
No
other
problem.
co-host, Nick, and myself. We're excited to see where you go from here. We wish you a speedy recovery.
Thank you,
Great
X-Man.
success.
I'll be back and better than ever. Appreciate
Thanks.
you guys for having me.